I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Yeah. Not a game.
Me. Bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
What are we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.
Welcome back to We Talking About Sports. You're here joined by Justin Martinez, and we got Dr. Saucy himself, the Stat King, with us today, and we got Ben. And, 53-man rosters have been set, and there's a big name who we thought was going to be QB1, and he's been cut.
Yeah, preseason battles are over.
That's Cam Newton. He's out of the Patriots. They have named their rookie quarterback, Mac Jones, out of Alabama, their starter.
Yeah.
First takes on that, Ben, and first impressions on that?
Big Mac Jones guy this season. I
don't see that coming, honestly. Especially when you look at how the play on the field was going for both guys. I thought it was fairly even. I don't think Cam played himself out of consideration. I really think it just came down to, him missing a couple of days with COVID. And then, I think the team identifying that there really wasn't too much of a difference between Cam and Mac Newton, getting the names confused, between Cam. So they decided to go with the rookie. I think that's a smart move. And then as far as cutting Cam, I know some people were talking about his vaccination status. I definitely don't think that helps. I don't know if that was like the whole decision, but I think it goes more into the whole thing of like, can you have Cam around as a backup? I think in certain situations, yes, but I don't think it's conducive for a rookie. And I don't think it's conducive to his development or a rookie's development to have a guy like Cam looking over your shoulders. Like you kind of get into that Tua, Ryan Fitzpatrick situation. Yep. You kind of want Mac Jones to feel like he's comfortable and doesn't have to worry about looking over his shoulder anytime he makes a mistake. I think Cam Newton can be a backup with like a solidified veteran at the helm, kind of like our Dallas Cowboys. Dak Prescott and some other teams. So crazy chain of events. Definitely didn't see Cam getting cut coming.
I agree that I don't think that it came down to the vaccination status, but I do think that keeping him off the field and off the practice field and giving Mac Jones all those reps. I mean, he had the best preseason out of any of the rookie quarterbacks. He had a game where he went 27 of 32 on completions. So he had touchdowns in every game that he appeared in. And, I mean, he won the spot. It's crazy because we were talking about it draft night, and we said, this is a very New England Patriots-style quarterback, and it just so happened to fall into their lap. They didn't even have to trade up to go get the guy. So seems like a dream scenario right now for the Patriots. I know everybody was saying it was a dream scenario for them draft night, and they liked the guy enough to – not only start him over Cam, but cut Cam, there's not even a threat, it's yours the whole year. They're not going to give it to him and maybe he tanks or it goes bad and they let Cam come in and then they go back away from Cam and to him. So it's his job for the whole season as long as he's healthy. That's what cutting Cam tells us.
Yeah, and I know things are going to be a lot different in the season, but I do think Mac Jones is set up situationally to succeed in New England right away. I mean, they have a top 5 offensive line. At least that's what everybody's been saying all preseason with all those guys. And their defense looks pretty good and looks pretty stout through the first couple of weeks of the preseason. So, like I said, I know things are going to change. Mac Jones is a bit of a statue in the pocket, so we're going to see how those sack numbers are. I know I just mentioned they have a good offensive line, but he's not going to give you much in terms of mobility, but I do think he's going to be able to stand in the pocket and hit you on those 15-yard digs and hit you on those posts and, make the throws that you're supposed to make within that offense. And he has Josh McDaniels, who's for all intents and purposes a pretty good offensive coordinator from what we've grown to know about the guy. So I think he's in a good situation. Definitely going to be different in the regular season. And I know we kind of, at least I gave the Patriots a mid-review in our AFC East review. It has me rethinking it a little bit just because their defense is really strong. And I do like Mac Jones in that situation. Again, I'm down on their skill players. I don't like who they have out on the perimeter, but I do think they can game plan it with those 2 tight ends, that strong offensive line, and a solid running game. So, yeah, I would bump up my rating from the AFC East podcast, maybe like 1 or 2 wins, just based on what's gone down throughout the preseason. The Patriots have impressed me, so I had them like at 8 wins, so I could see them at 9 or 10.
They're definitely more well-rounded now with Mac Jones' throwing ability, because to be honest, Cam Newton was spiking balls into the ground, and that had a lot to do with his shoulder surgery. He just never really came back from that. But Roland, to agree with you as far as how Mac Jones is set up, the Vegas odds makers agree with you. From plus 800 odds for Rookie of the Year, he goes down to the favorite at plus 250. So we'll see. They're comparing it to the Herbert situation last year. You know how Tyrod Taylor, right before the game time, Herbert just got the nod when nobody expected it to go in. So let's see if Mac Jones can deliver for the Patriots. I agree with you. I think that it ups their rating, though.
Yep.
I think.
What about you, Justin? Are you surprised?
I'm still not sold on Mac Jones' strength on his arm. He is very accurate, that mid to short ball. So I don't think this makes any impact for me as far as what the Patriots over-under is going to be. I'm going to leave that the same. Definitely, I see why his odds are going to be higher. He is named the starter, so it makes sense when you get 17 games now that you're going to play. I mean, you have a better chance of winning that Rookie of the Year, so that doesn't make any implications for me there. My biggest takeaway from this whole situation is the Dallas Cowboys. How do you not rush to go sign a decent backup for once in Cam Newton? You go sign Will Greer. Last time I remember Will Greer from West Virginia. Yeah. Haven't seen him since. I don't think he's been on the team.
Yeah, so, I think he was on the Panthers or something like that.
Yeah, he was. But what I'm saying, he's not an X factor. He's not a viable backup. And there's a viable backup option just sitting there. How do we not go after a guy like that? That's the most disappointing thing for me as far as Cam Newton cut.
This preseason definitely made it very evident that the Cowboys need to,
nobody's serviceable back there after that.
They don't, and it's not like you have the healthiest guy coming in. He's coming in off a messed up ankle. Now he's having shoulder problems going into the year. He's gonna play, but you got to have somebody ready there. Like it's unbelievable.
Cam definitely makes sense. And I would like to see him get another shot in the NFL, because the other thing I was going to talk about was just, how sad this makes me as a Cam Newton fan. And, I've liked him since he was at Auburn. He's, a one of a kind. I know we've had Michael Vick, but we've never had a 6'6", 250, 260 pound quarterback that can move close to like a receiver. There's Terrell Pryor, but Cam Newton is levels above Pryor. So Cam Newton in his prime, glad to have been able to watch him. Hope it's not the end for him. It definitely looks like he still has a little bit left in the tank based on what we saw in the preseason.
All right, guys. Also, we have this new show coming up on Sundays. It'll be right before NFL kickoff, Sunday mornings. And we're still working out the plan for the show. We got a few ideas coming in. But what we can guarantee you is we will talk about fantasy football, and we'll give out a daily play every Sunday morning. Various plays for Sunday morning. So look out for that. We'll also do some weather talk, see what kind of how that affects the game lines and different things like that. We're gonna just do a different approach, but that'll be coming up Sunday mornings.
I'll have the green screen right here, so I'll be pointing out all
Smith,
the stuff back
he'll go
here.
from Dr.
Saucy's
making it rain, baby. Making it rain on Sundays.
He's Tim Smith now.
It will be a live show, though, right? Did you say that? I was paying attention, but I don't know if I caught that. It's going to be live show. So
Devo.
Yeah. Might have maybe intra-pod little competition, giving out some plays against the spread, stuff like that. So definitely excited about the Sunday show.
We're thinking more or less rolling like 10:30 to 11:30, right?
Yeah, around that time. We're all early risers here, but want to try and catch you guys like right before game time, but also give you enough time to put in some plays and make some changes. Yeah,
we'll put out locks during plays and stuff that we have for that too. But yeah, boys, let's get into it. We've been going with the top quarterback list, top running back list, top wide receiver list, and we're down to the tight ends. So we got the tight end list coming up. Let's talk about it.
Let's do it. I think the tight ends, I think this might be the first one that we all have a consensus, right? Or did we have a consensus for the receivers?
At number one, I think this is the only one where we have a consensus number one.
Our top five in the tight ends has been, I mean, everybody had the same five pretty much. It didn't vary too much after that. So introduce it, Roland.
All right. Well, starting at number one, our consensus, we talking about sports, number one tight end for going into the 2021 season. I don't think it's a surprise to anybody. It's kind of chalk, if you will, but it's Travis Kelsey, the tight end for the Kansas City Chiefs. He was our number one tight end last year. I think we had one Kittle vote on the board last year, but Kelsey came in at number one, and I mean, he showed up at that number. I mean, you could even put him up with some of the receivers with the numbers that he put up last year. And let's get into it. I mean, he had 105 catches on 145 targets for good enough for 1,400 yards and 11 touchdowns. I know he's the king of that little shovel pass. They find a way to get him the touchdown there in the red zone when you think they might be running the ball. You always got to look out for Kelsey. He's one of the greatest threats in there, and it's somewhat unconventional. They move him around. That's the beauty about being in that Andy Reid offense with Eric Bieniemy as the offensive coordinator. His catch percentage, 72%. You throw him the ball, he's catching it. I don't know if you guys ever played with like a guy who's super reliable like that in your flag football days or tackle football, whatever. But you throw the ball to this guy, he's coming down with it. I mean, do you guys have anything to add to Travis Kelsey being number one? I mean, what's your favorite thing about Kelsey?
I do want to hear why Ben put him at one this year, because last year he had Kittle, and this year he has more faith in Kelsey. I just want to hear what converted him to the Kelsey train.
I still think last year I remember putting Kittle number one because of his blocking. I said he was more of a do-it-all, and Kelsey's more of a finesse. He's more of a wide receiver type. I mean, Kittle came out of Iowa. They block there. They're a running team. And this year, Kelsey, he's just a wide receiver at tight end, bro. Roland said it. 140 targets or 134 targets, and then over 100 receptions for 1,400 yards. Those are stats that we used to hear, AB doing year to year. You know what I mean? When shit was really booming. So Travis Kelsey's putting up major numbers. He's got the best quarterback in the game. He's got Tyreek Hill to take the top off the defense, and he's going to work everything, mid-range. So, and like Roland said, he's a vacuum cleaner, as sure-handed as it gets pretty much at the position.
Was staying healthy any bit of a factor for you?
No. I just think that he more consistent. And like now he's the only tight end, and I know that it's fantasy football, but he's the only fantasy tight end being talked about going number one. When were tight ends ever going first round? I don't ever think. Did Gronk ever get there?
I think Gronk was up there in maybe the second round, end of the first round, depending on if you had some Patriots fans in your league. But he definitely was up there. But Kelsey's surefire first round.
Yeah, it's wide receiver money, bro. And then he's on that team, and he's a big red zone target for the touchdowns. And Mahomes loves going to him. So the QB situation in San Francisco also played into, why I have Kittle number two.
Got you. That makes sense.
No signs of slowing down either. No signs of slowing down. All right. Let's go to number two. I mean, I think this one, there's a little debate here, but number two, he got 3 out of our 4 votes, I believe. That is George Kittle. We were just talking about him right now. George Kittle, number 85, tight end for the San Francisco 49ers. It doesn't play in of an explosive, offense as Kansas City, but the guys that do it all, like Ben was saying, probably the best blocking tight end or one of the best blocking tight ends in the league. And, I mean, he's one of the best receivers. You can line him up in the slot, and he can take almost anybody on a seam route for 70, 80 yards, as he was doing in 2018 and 19. He did come off an injury, or he is coming off injury in 2020. He only played in 8 games, but before that, he was good for 1,000 and close to 1,400 yards in 2018 and 2019. His touchdowns aren't there, though, on par with Kelsey, but I do think that does change this year for him. He's talented all around. Why did you guys have Kittle at 2? I didn't have him at 2 myself.
Health mostly. I thought about putting him at 1 because the production is there when he's on the field, and I took into consideration what Ben said, that all-around tight end factor that he is. It's not just a vertical threat, it's a possession threat, it's a blocking threat. But when you got to look at the quarterback situation in San Francisco, not knowing exactly what that offense is going to be like, you can't have him at 1. And so that put him at 2 at least, though.
So before it goes to Ben, you guys are both of the belief that it's Travis Kelsey, George Kittle, and then everybody else? Like you think they're in the tier by themselves?
Waller's in the conversation.
No, but I feel like it's a 1A, 1B for me right now sort of thing.
Okay, cool.
But George Kittle is that blue-collar, lunch pail, but superstar, bro. But in the trenches, superstar. Like I said, Kelsey's more finesse, but he gets it done, man. Kelsey's Hollywood. George Kittle is country farm boy, just gritty. I think that he's a very gritty player. I wouldn't call Kelsey so gritty. So yeah, I like the all-aroundness of George Kittle, and I think that the faster that they figure out that QB situation in San Francisco, he's going to be the number 1 no matter who the QB is.
So you guys you didn't take into consideration him not being on the field for more than half the season last year?
Yeah, that's why I couldn't put him at 1. The health situation.
Because that's actually, that played into, because I didn't rank him at number 2. Let's get into number 3. The number 3 tight end on the list is none other than Darren Waller. I had him at number 2. Darren Waller's coming off a back-to-back over 1,100-yard receiving seasons. He topped 100 catches this year for the Las Vegas Raiders at 107. He had 9 touchdowns. His catch percentage is close to 74. For me, this guy is the next best receiving tight end next to Kelsey. He might even be a little bit more athletic than Kelsey, if you will.
Faster, definitely faster.
And closer to a wide receiver. I definitely like how Darren Waller is, how he's projecting or his current trajectory. I think he's going to overtake Kittle as the surefire number 2 tight end this year. That's why I ranked him at number 2. But yeah, Darren Waller's my guy. I like him a lot this year. I expect big numbers out of him. I have him in a fantasy league this year. I was picking at the back end of the draft, and I think I caught him on the turn and I think the 3rd or the 4th round. But anyways, I like Waller a lot this year. You guys have anything to add to Waller? Ben, I saw you shaking your head when I was saying he's the next best receiving tight end.
No, I was agreeing. I think he's more of a finesse tight end as well, but he is more of like a wide receiver type. Darren Waller was a lot of fantasy people. He was a winner last year. He was the guy that you had in the championship just based off where you drafted him, and he exceeded expectations by a long shot last year. That's why he's in the tier now with Kittle and Kelsey. That's why it's Kittle, Kelsey, Waller, and everybody else. Last year, it was only Kittle and Kelsey. This year, Waller, after the season he did last year, he inserted himself into the conversation. You want to get that number 2 spot? Let's show me some consistency. Do it again. And I have no problem with him overtaking Kittle because I agree with you. After the catch, this dude, he's a wide receiver, man. He can go. He can go. And John Gruden gets him the ball.
Out of the top 3 tight ends we've listed so far, obviously Kelsey has the best quarterback situation. Who has the worst quarterback situation going into the season? Is it going to be Derek Carr, or is it going to be whatever San Francisco puts out, Garoppolo? Or
I think it's whatever San Francisco puts out because Carr lets it fly. He don't give a fuck.
Agreed. Yeah, and that's the other reason. I think the numbers are going to be there for Waller. Because they're going to air it out. They're not going to have much of a run game this year, I don't think. So a lot of numbers to come for Darren Waller. But number 4, I think there's a little bit of disagreement amongst we talking about sports guys. We got 2 votes at this guy for number 4 and a number 5 ranking. So it ends up winning out for him. It is Mark Andrews. That's Lamar Jackson's favorite target nowadays. He's the tight end for the Baltimore Ravens. Mark Andrews is a 4th-year tight end. His numbers aren't necessarily there in terms of yardage, just because of the way the offense works out. But he does have back-to-back seasons of 98 catches and 88 catches, good for 850 and 700 yards. But the touchdowns are there for him. He is a touchdown scorer. He has 10 touchdowns and 7 touchdowns his last 2 seasons. So Mark Andrews, I think he's just Mr. Consistent, Mr. Reliable, and he is the favorite target of his quarterback. So I think the numbers are going to continue to be there for this guy. Justin, I'm going to ask you, because you had him at number 5.
Clearly, he made the slide with his top 5.
Yeah.
Pitts at 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think Pitts is more dynamic than Mark Andrews. I have no problem with Mark Andrews. I had him pretty high on my list last season. Can sort of do it all. Pretty good option for Lamar Jackson. Coming out of Oklahoma, we saw what he was for Baker. This guy's solid. He's not in that upper echelon, though. I just think with what Kyle Pitts brings vertically, I have to put him above Mark Andrews, especially since Kyle Pitts, in my opinion, has a better throwing quarterback than.
Oh, I know, Marquis.
Without playing a game, steps into your number 4 tight end.
Without playing a game, yeah, good thing you said that.
But we saw him in the preseason. We saw him in the preseason what he was able to do.
Yeah, because I have him at 5.
But he had one play in the preseason, the guy hasn't shown much yet, to be honest, to be in the top 5, in my opinion.
Yeah,
but
no,
I think the consensus would have him in the top 5, just based off what's expected coming into the season. Yeah, I'm just saying, pump the brakes.
And I kind of agree with Justin in the sense that not too many other guys can offer you what Kyle Pitts is going to offer. We just talked about Darren Waller, Kittle, and Kelsey. He walks in and he's already in the conversation with those guys in terms of athleticism and whatnot.
I agree.
The other guys don't really compare to him. I know Ron had Logan Thomas, a former quarterback, and Noah Fant on his list, but I think Kyle Pitts is more athletic than both of those guys.
Hey, there's also a reason Ron didn't show up to defend this list. All right? There's a reason he didn't show up to defend that shit.
Yeah, and for me, again, Kyle Pitts, this is a lot based on potential. The potential's there, and that's why I have him. I just couldn't overlook that.
I agree. He's the comparisons of Waller and Kelsey, like Roland compared him to. That's definitely the mark. That's what the Falcons want out of him. That's why you get drafted where you get drafted. Yeah, but let's see it against NFL talent.
Yeah, and let's go to the next slide. We just talked about him right now. That's Kyle Pitts. He was drafted by the Atlanta Falcons. What number? Number 3. We all thought they were going to go quarterback. I thought they were going to go quarterback, but it was pretty much a done deal. Him going to Atlanta, the tight end out of Florida. Like Justin just got done saying, a lot of this is done or based on potential. I don't have too much to add other than I think he's going to step in, and he's automatically a top 3, top 4 tight end in terms of athleticism. He just needs to have the numbers to back it up, I think, and you need to play the game. So
in terms of athleticism, I think he's the best tight end. Who's running that 40 that he ran? Who has that athleticism?
Maybe Waller. He's close to wide receiver, but I agree with you.
I just think he's more athletic than those guys.
When's the last time a tight end's been drafted that high? I know that I'm putting everybody on the spot, but I wonder how far we have to go back, or if ever a tight end has been the number 3 pick in the draft.
Sure, I
can't think of a time off the top of my head where a tight end was a top 5 pick like that.
But I feel like SportsCenter that has, or like ESPN that has the Mamada stats on top of Mamada stats.
Vernon Davis was picked number 6 by San Francisco. And Vernon Davis at the time, we were all calling him like the most athletic tight end.
It was the combine that boosted him to number 6. Remember, the combine was nuts.
Out of Maryland.
Yeah.
Kellen Winslow, he went number 6. You guys remember him? He's in jail now. Won't give him too much shine
pick
here.
Pick number 5, Riley Odoms in 1972.
So TJ Hawkinson, he went number 8 in 2019.
Yeah, TJ Hawkinson's number 5 on my list.
Number 5 for you. What do you like about Hawkinson? Why'd you put him up there? The whole Kittle situation, he's well-rounded?
He's well-rounded and brand new QB, and Goff is already checked down city. and that just means tight end. I think he's the best receiving threat that the Lions offense has. They're going to be down a lot. They're going to be throwing to Hawkinson. But for me, it was between Hawkinson and Fant for the fifth one, to be honest.
Okay.
I think Fant has pretty high expectations, and he's athletic. He's that new breed of tight end, not just the blockers. He's more of, that dual threat. So, but I expect big things out of Hawkinson, and if Goff's going to get anybody the ball, I expect it to be the damn tight end, 4-yard outs and shit.
Be their best receiving option this year too. So I like that at number 5. And honorable mentions. Yeah, let's do it. Honorable mentions. We don't have Steph Curry's mom on here this time, but we do have Dallas Goddard. Dallas Goddard, the tight end.
The guy that Curry's mom's with now, wasn't he a tight end?
Yeah, a Patriots tight end. I think.
He should have been honorable mention.
He's honorable mention number 1.
He should have been honorable mention. That one should be number 1. Just bagging shit as a fucking 1-year pro.
But that's I saw some video of Sonya Curry, like she was at a basketball game, and some other man, I don't know if it was that guy, but
it was
getting pretty cozy. And like Del Curry was in the same stadium, so I thought
just watching, right? Like from the other
just
press
watching from the other side. Yeah, some sus behavior. But anyways, Dallas Goddard, he's going to be Jalen Hurts' favorite target, I think. But interesting news. He said that he wants to stay and he wants to retire an Eagle. He said that some conversations were had and that he's back on board. So glad to see things end well for Zach Ertz. He was on our list last year. Speaking of Zach Ertz,
he was on everybody's list.
He was number 3 on mine, number 5 on Ben's, and number 3 on Justin.
I had him on his way out. You see, I had him on his way out.
Nah, he still made your top 5. Now, so. Honestly, I was looking at it. Justin probably. No, you and Justin had a better top 5 than me because I had fucking Austin Hooper in there. I don't know what I was thinking. I forgot what my thought process was.
You were drinking that Hard Knocks Browns Kool-Aid, bro.
Anyways, TJ Hawkinson's the other one. We just talked about him, and then Mike Gesicki. Was that your honorable mention, Justin?
Yeah.
Gesicki?
You like Gesicki?
Well,
just because he helped me in fantasy quite a bit last season.
Okay.
All right. Some
love there.
When he had games, he had games. He's a very streamable option at tight end if he wasn't drafted in y'all's drafts.
I like that. Mike Gesicki. There we go. All right. Well, that was the top 5 tight ends. We're going to go ahead and post this on Twitter and Facebook, and y'all make sure to chime in. Let us know. Yeah, roast us. Let us know if we're morons or we got it right, or if you agree with us or whatever.
Putting a rookie in their top 5, let them know about it.
Just let us know. Let us know, and give us your top 5 also. Don't be shy.
I'm gonna asterisk that potential.
Hey, I mean, Ben
Kyler Murray was a top 10 quarterback last year. Let's not get that twisted.
Kenyon Drake too. So
he was.
We all have our guys.
But you all put Drew Brees top 5, okay? So don't give me shit. Don't give me shit for putting Kyler at 10 when he was like the 7th best QB last year.
Well, we all had misses on our list, but
all right, Roland, you started shooting.
We all had misses. I don't have the quarterback list in front of me, but that was a good call out. Anyway,
I know, but Kyle Murray wasn't that bad of a top 10.
No.
That actually was a good call.
That was a good pick. I'll give you that.
I was just we had your boy on with the Cardinals preview last year, and he had me drinking the Kool-Aid, bro.
Yeah,
so he'll be on one of the Sundays.
Yeah, he actually hit me up. He wants to be on Sundays.
That would be good. That would be good.
Yeah. So Robert, if you're listening, be ready. So that's the top 5 list. Are you guys ready to get into the NFC North?
Let's get into this Green Bay Packers.
All right, let's get into it. Shouldn't take us too long. It's much of the same in 2020 for the NFC North. The Green Bay Packers walked away with another division championship. They dominated the division like they always do. They're favored to win it again. We're going to get into that a little bit here in a little bit with how short potentially, I'm stuttering, with how potentially short these odds might be. But they are favorites again to win the NFC North. They won it with a 13-3 record. They won 7-1 at home, 6-2 on the road, 5-1 against the division. And they lost in the NFC Championship round again. It seems like they can't get past that stage. They lost to the Falcons a couple of years ago. They lost again to Tampa Bay this past year. Note in Lambeau, 26-31. 5 games decided by a touchdown or less, and they were 3-2 in those games. Their season bets and props, like we were just talking about with the NFC North odds, they are minus 150 to win the NFC North. That is pretty short by all accounts. A couple of years ago, they were like minus 350 in the preseason. So that's just for reference. They are plus 1,000 to win the Super Bowl. That is pretty short. Plus 600 to win the NFC Championship. That's good for second best behind Tampa Bay. Their season total, over under 10, juice to minus 65 for the over. Aaron Rodgers to win the MVP is plus 900. And if you're into some player props, here's a little interesting one, Justin, before we move on. Over under 36.5 passing touchdowns for Aaron Rodgers. You like that?
I do. I like the over.
You like that? Okay. All right. I mean, he was good for, 40-something touchdowns last year. So you think he's going to get there with an extra game? I believe he will. Their additions, they bring back old reliable Randall Cobb, a legendary slot receiver for the Green Bay Packers. They bring him over from the Texans. That's probably their biggest free agent signing that I can look at. Another year goes by in the draft. Another year goes by without them drafting a first-round wide receiver. And that's partly why Aaron Rodgers showed up a few weeks ago for the first time in all offseason. They drafted Eric Stokes, cornerback out of Georgia. Georgia produces some pretty good defensive players, so pretty sure he's going to be a good addition. And they did add a receiver in the 3rd round, Amari Rogers, a receiver for Clemson. Do you know anything about Amari Rogers, Justin, or no? I'm not too keen on him.
He wasn't one of the main starters. It was Justin Ross and the other kid Higgins for that national championship team. He was like their 3rd option.
But I'm sure he was probably like the number 2 or number 3 high school prospect in his year. So maybe the talent is
probably
there.
Probably a 4-star at least.
Yeah, and he's going to get the shine or get an opportunity with Aaron Rodgers possibly. Key departures, they do lose starting center Corey Linsley to the Chargers, Christian Kirksey to the Texans, and shoot, this one surprised me just more so because I hadn't heard his name in a while. It's Tavon Austin. I didn't even know he was on the Packers.
I don't know what team he was on in the league at this point.
Yeah, he former Cowboy. Got to give him his props. But he finds himself on the Jaguars. I don't know if he made the 53-man roster, but that is where he ended up this offseason. The NFC North, you'll find a trend here. I'll just get it out of the way. They do have some of the tougher schedules based on 2020 win percentage. The Packers have the 4th toughest schedule based on that statistic. And the big storyline for me before I toss it over to you, Justin, so you can give me your reason for your love for the Packers this year is Aaron Rodgers. The watch is over. He showed back up. He was wearing that office shirt with the hair in the man bun or whatever you want to call it. And, he showed up in flip-flops, just cool as can be. He's been putting out a lot of social media content, hitting those nets from 50 yards out. Jordan Love, though, he did get to play in the preseason. Mixed reviews from me. He shows that he's capable, though. But the question that I'll leave you with before you get into your take is, do you think Jordan Love's preseason has proven that the Packers need to do anything and everything they can to extend Aaron Rodgers or extend the Aaron Rodgers experience for as long as they can?
From what I saw in that preseason game, yeah, they need to work something out this year. You got 17 weeks to figure something out, get this thing extended, get in some good graces, promise a receiver, make a trade. You got to do something because Jordan Love's not the answer at this point. He's had his time to sit and learn, and he didn't look like that was worthy of being a replacement the way that Rodgers was to get out Favre. Like that didn't seem that way to me, at least.
And you don't, and I just asked you when we were doing the whole breakdown of the Packers right now, if you like that prop for Aaron Rodgers over under 36.5 passing touchdowns, and you said that you liked the over, so you're not projecting any regression for Aaron Rodgers. You think that he's on that Tom Brady diet and he's going to keep it going?
Yeah, no, I think he's going to be fine. You add that extra game, he's going to hit over that 36.5. Have him pegged somewhere around 40 touchdowns this year because you add that Randall Cobb option, somebody
True.
he can get, on that, inside the 5, can run a little slant and he can hit him, and he knows how to get open for Rodgers. That's just a connection that you add that he didn't have last year.
Yeah, I like that. I like that addition. I didn't mention Randall Cobb right now in that whole touchdown thing, but that is a good point because Aaron Rodgers, he's going to need. It's either going to be Robert. Is it Robert Tonyan, I believe, or Tonyan, or Randall Cobb? And I mean, he has 2 good safety valves there. So I'm with you on that over 36.5. Ben, are you back on, or not back on, but do you see the Packers reigning over the division for another year in 2021?
I think it's not even going to be competitive. I mean, can we see Aaron Rodgers last season with the Packers and him losing the division to the let's be honest, the only competition is the Minnesota Vikings as far as winning the division. You've got, Jared Goff over there, and we're going to get into the Bears a little bit later, but they still have question marks at quarterback. So this division, I mean, you can mark it down, book it in, call it a lock, whatever the hell you want to do. The Packers are going to win the division. Aaron Rodgers ain't going to go out like a hoe. I know that you talked about maybe extending him. It's done. This is the last hoorah. This is all that you're going to get from Aaron Rodgers. I even think the contract ends after this season. I think that was part of the stipulations of him coming back. And you got to think, and how pathetic is this, fam? You got to say, go get me Randall Cobb. Like, that's got to be on the table for you to come back. I mean, bum-ass Randall Cobb, bro. A guy that the Texans overpaid for when he left the Cowboys. But like you said, another year that they don't go and get help, even though he was holding out, and you thought that it was going to be Love, and you still don't go get wide receiver help. In the midst of talking contract negotiations with Devontae Adams, because he's on a contract year as well. So their front office really has to get their shit together, not necessarily and do everything you got to do to get Aaron Rodgers back because that ship has sailed. I think this is, he just wants to go out on good graces, and you're gonna split. It's going to be mutual after this season. I think that nobody's going to be in bad graces. The fans get that last season. Aaron Rodgers just isn't dipping out on them and quitting on them. It's known to everybody. This is the last dance. They even put it up.
And before we get into our season predictions, I know you kind of hinted at it with the division, calling them the division champions for 2021. But do you think that the Packers fumbled the bag? I mean, in terms of you go from Brett Favre to Aaron Rodgers, I mean, I don't know too many franchises that can say that they've gone from Hall of Fame to Hall of Fame quarterback. I mean, the Colts had a chance of doing it with Andrew Luck, but he retired. But other than that, I can't think of any off the top of my head. And to only have, for those 20 some odd years, 2 Super Bowls to show for it.
Yeah.
Do you think that's a little short? Do you think they should have walked away with more Super Bowls?
You got 2 first ballot Hall of Famers for 2 decades, 20 years, and you got 1 Super Bowl from each guy. Listen, their front office has to get their shit together. Like we said, they need to put help around these guys, man. If you know that you're going to win the game because you have Aaron Rodgers, then you got to go and get him the weapons. The way that the Bucs did it for Brady, the way that these other teams prioritize for their quarterbacks. They've never seemed to do that. They've seemed to put their attention everywhere else, and it's kind of like, well, where is it? Because their defense isn't that great. They keep drafting running backs year after year. Aaron Jones, Jamal Williams, now A.J. Dillon, one of the most replaceable positions in the NFL, and you keep wasting high draft picks on running backs. So their front office really needs to get their shit together, bro.
And they are going to be, I had this article pulled up, they are going to be trying to work through the season with Devontae Adams on this contract. So hopefully they get one of the 2 done, because I do kind of agree with Justin, just to circle back to the very beginning, that I do think the Packers need to do everything they can to try and bring back Aaron Rodgers, because from what I've seen, man, Jordan Love, he's not.
But you really think that that's a possibility? Like, if
Well,
you
I'm
had to
not
put a
saying that-
percentage,
well,
if you had to
To
put a
put
percentage,
it's less than 50% for me, but that doesn't mean.
way
They,
less so, bro. Like,
but I know. Well, what I'm saying is that doesn't mean that they can't try.
okay,
Yeah,
you're
they
It
right.
have
doesn't mean you
You're
don't try when
You're
you
right.
have Aaron Rodgers. You got
You're
They
to.
right.
have to try.
But Aaron
because-
Rodgers has made it pretty fucking clear, fam.
For sure. But I also think that you have to take into consideration that you still don't know what you have with Jordan Love. I'm also of the belief that they should by now have already known what they have with Jordan
It's the
Love
same
in terms
concept,
of what he shows
though.
in practice, what he has done in preseason games. I think he should have already showed something by now, but maybe you need to get him in there.
They followed their same blueprint, Roland, that you alluded to with Rodgers replacing Favre, and we said that it was 2 years on the pine, and then after that second year they took over. This will be Jordan Love's second year, so maybe he was ready to take over next year. And they got to feel decent about him if Rodgers feels that disrespected, because if he didn't think that he was a threat at all, he would just fucking
feel
chill
decent
there.
about him. The coach said he likes him, but what he showed in that preseason game wasn't decent.
So
I
you're
feel
out
you,
on Jordan Love.
but he also didn't have Devontae Adams on the field either. Like, were they playing starters, you know?
No, that's true. Well, let's get into the season predictions here. We'll all give out our win totals if we have them. But before we do get into that, there is an injury out there that we didn't mention, and I think it's key. Their left tackle, David Bakari, he's going to be out the first couple weeks of the season.
One of the better left tackles in the
The best.
game right now.
I think he finds himself on the PUP, if I'm not mistaken. I think he's going to be out
6 weeks.
Yeah, he's going to be out a little while, so just want to throw that out there. Not to say that the Packers still won't find a way, but I think they're still going to find a way with or without Bakari, because I have them slotted in at 12. I have them slotted in at 12-5, walking away with another division title. Justin, what do you have them at?
Over under, I have them over the 10.
Okay. If you were to give a record?
Right at 11-6.
Okay.
I think they win the NFC North. But I think they don't get to that NFC Championship game, though. I just don't see it 3 years in a row.
Because the Cowboys are going to beat them in the divisional round on our way to the Super Bowl.
You already know that. No doubt about that one.
Just got it. What about you, Ben?
I think that the Green Bay Packers, I think you can book them in for that first round bye out of the NFC, to be honest. I think that they're going to be going for it. They're going to be going for that bye.
Yeah.
Well, and I'm saying they're in I know that we're breaking down the division, but man, they're in a very good position to do so. I mean, when they do play, what AFC division are they playing here? They're playing the Ravens, Browns, and Steelers. So yeah, they do play a tougher division, but for the most part, you know, they get the Steelers at home, which is a tough team, and they get the Browns at home, which is the other tough team in that division. So Baltimore, they will have to go on the road, but you got to think, you know, Lamar and Aaron Rodgers, you're always going to take the Aaron Rodgers team. At least I would. It doesn't matter where they're playing. So I do like their schedule. I like the way it shapes up for them. I expect them to sweep the division like they've been doing for the last couple of years. And yeah, man, there's just, like I said, Aaron Rodgers ain't going out like a hope. I believe
they
it.
did lose to the Bears last year. I do want to say that, but I don't know that's going to happen again.
Yeah, and they might have, but I have them sweeping the division this year for sure. I know I said that they had done it the last couple of years, but
And so, without further ado, let's give out that consensus pick. Our consensus pick, or the first one of the podcast, is the NFC North champions to be the Green Bay Packers at -150. This, like I said at the beginning of the Packer breakdown, this is a line that I've seen at over -300 some years. I do think it's a little short. Maybe I think Vegas is a little high on the Vikings this year. We'll get into that right now here in a little bit. But, man, the Packers, unless Aaron Rodgers gets hurt, they're going to win the division.
It has happened before.
And it has happened.
Maybe Jordan Love will surprise us, but I honestly think even with the Jordan Love-led Packers, they can battle with the team that we're about to talk about for the division.
Yeah, unless
is the NFC North a 3 playoff team?
No.
Division?
Hell no.
There's no chance
two.
making it.
Or Vikings, bro. Like
the Vikings have an outside chance at the wild card, but We'll get into that here in a little bit. But they're one playoff team, two at the best for the NFC North.
Yeah.
So, that's our first consensus pick for the NFC North. It is the Packers still in the division at -150. And, Justin, where can we put this in?
You can put that in on BetKing online on Twitter. We got a promotional code. You just got to put WTBS to get that going. There's a lot of promotions coming out this week. I'd be on Twitter every day up until Sunday of the NFL to see one of the promotions that we just got told about. It's going to be very exclusive, very short, but you don't want to miss this promotion. And when you do get it, make sure you tell them WTBS. Might be a little extra for you there.
Yeah, and the Survivor pool, NFL starts next week, so that starts next week as well, the Survivor contest. I'm looking forward to that. I think I'm locked in on a team that I'm going to be fading, and it's going to be a team that we might be talking about later on tonight.
All righty. Well, let's get into it, or let's get closer to that team if they're coming up. The Chicago Bears, second place in the division for 2020. They went 8-8, 3-5 at home there at Soldier Field, 5-3 on the road, 2-4 against the division, which I said good enough for second place. They did miss the playoffs. They had 10 games decided by 7 points or less. They were actually 6-4 in those games by my count. Interesting stat here. They started the season off 5-1. They had high hopes. Yep. People thought maybe Mitchell Trubisky had found a way to turn it around. We were wrong. They went 1-4 in 7-point games to end the season. So, like I said, they had 10 games decided by a touchdown. Those 5 games that they won at the beginning were all by less than a touchdown. So a little bit of in-season regression because they did go on to lose 1 of 4 of their close games following that. So a little bit of in-season regression for the Chicago Bears. Their 2021 season bets and props, plus 4,500 to win the Super Bowl, plus 2,500 to win the NFC Championship, plus 450. Their season total is over under 7.5 to make the playoffs, plus 150 for yes. No is juiced to -190. And the shortest odds on the table here is to win Rookie of the Year. That's Justin Fields to win Offensive Rookie of the Year at plus 400. And that's as the quarterback 2, because they're highlighted, or their best addition or their most notable addition for 2021 was Andy Dalton, who was QB1, was named QB1 by Matt Nagy as soon as he got there pretty much. It wasn't really a competition. They did add Angelo Blackson from the Cardinals to beef up that defensive line. Marquis Goodwin, the receiver from the Eagles, didn't play last year because of COVID. Damian Williams, who also didn't play last year because of COVID, comes over from the Chiefs. And they also get Jesse James. Their first-round draft pick, like I just mentioned him, to win Rookie of the Year was Justin Fields. They got him at the number 11 pick. They traded up, I believe, with the Giants to get that pick. Drafted Justin Fields, fell a little bit, but I think they walked away with a steal. They do have the third-ranked schedule in terms of strength of schedule based on the 2021 percentage. And their big storyline, like I just said, was Andy Dalton being named the starter. How long will he be the starter? I think there should be some Vegas odds on the over-under, the number of games that Andy Dalton's a starter before he gets benched, but I haven't seen any yet. And I think it's a pretty obvious question. What I'm about to ask Ben here is, who gives the Bears the best chance to win, if there is a chance for them to win?
Easy question.
Yeah, let me tell you this. Andy Dalton is a downgrade from Mitch Trubisky. If y'all, maybe it'll be hard for some of y'all to believe, but those are just straight facts.
I agree, 100%.
Those are facts. So
I think he's better than Mr. Trubisky.
Hell,
he isn't.
Yeah, Mr. Trubisky.
He won you over last year. Not winning.
Saw him last season with the Cowboys.
Not winning that bum ass division.
That didn't even count. The
How does that not count?
The Cowboys were without 4 or 5 of their top offensive linemen.
And they still had a better roster.
I started a game at
guard. I
started at guard.
And they still had a better roster. Bro, they still had a better roster than the Bears.
Nah.
He's horrible.
Red
Andy
Rocket's
Dalton's
not
better
it,
than Mr.
brother.
Trubisky.
I mean, this is a guy who has that red. They call him the Red Rocket. He's got that red hair, and he's supposed to have these headphones on and a fucking clipboard in his hand and just look good wearing the Cowboys jersey. Not in the game, because he clearly showed that. I mean, y'all couldn't even get in the playoffs last year. If Andy Dalton was even remotely good, y'all would have gotten into the playoffs because it wasn't hard to do last season.
Man.
It wasn't hard to do last season. So
I'm
I think
with
it's
it,
a
Ben. I'm with
downgrade.
it. I agree.
I think that if they lose to Cincinnati, it's guaranteed 0-3. And then we see Justin Fields going into the game against the Lions, which is a very winnable game, even though it is a division game. So I could see by week 4, Justin Fields starting into that Lions game if they're 0-3.
So I know you say that Justin Fields gives him the best chance to win, and I agree. I think Justin Fields is better than Andy Dalton, but I think Andy Dalton's better than Mitch Trubisky. So that's where we disagree a little bit. But neither here nor there. My next question is going to be, do you think Justin Fields, or do you think the Bears sitting him for weeks 1 through 3, or for the first week, or not naming him QB1 is the right move, or do you think he should be QB1 to start the season?
Shit. Listen, if Andy Dalton goes up and stinks it up and the Bears score 3 points against the Rams week 1, which is very
so
very
let me rephrase the
doable.
question.
You don't want to throw him in there against the Rams and Aaron Donald.
Okay, so you wouldn't start him week 1 if you were the coach.
Listen, I agree with you. Let him watch what can fucking happen if you suck in the league, because Andy Dalton's going to get pummeled that game, fam. I mean, Roland, you're going to think back and be like, shit, maybe Trubisky
the Bears have a pretty bad offensive line too.
Oh, here we go.
That's why a good Justin Fields makes more sense.
Justin Fields gives them a better chance. So I would go with Justin Fields right off the bat. Again, I just think that Andy Dalton's better than Mr. Trubisky. That's all.
This is not old Andy Dalton. Old Andy Dalton, I would agree with you. This Andy Dalton, this version is not better than Mitch.
Horrible. Have you seen some of the throws that he made last year? Oh my goodness!
Did you see some of the throws Andy Dalton made last year?
Andy Dalton doesn't even give his guys.
Andy Dalton is not better than Trubisky.
He is conservative Andy Dalton. He's in his Joe Flacco late stages.
It doesn't matter. We're not going to agree on this. We're not. We have to move
on.
But
Roland week 1 is going to look back and see how wrong he is, bro.
But I would just say Justin Fields should be QB1.
So when do you have
he should start from the rip. I think he gives him the best chance to win. It's a little risky, like Ben said, starting him against Los Angeles because, I mean, he could get pummeled. We saw him get lit up pretty badly against the Bills. I can only imagine that happen against.
He's not going to throw at Jalen Ramsey, so he's already going to be playing with only half the field. And then he's going to have to worry about Aaron Donald, like just week 2 against Joe Burrow. Hey, come on, man.
I can make a case for just throwing him into the fire week 1. And he obviously can evade Aaron Donald a little bit with the footwork. So I can see that case too, Roland. I can see a case for both. It's hard. The problem is we know that the answer, no matter what, is not Andy Dalton.
Yeah,
the answer is Justin Fields.
No matter what, Justin Fields will end the season as a starting quarterback.
Agreed. And then I think the other thing too that I've heard going around, and I was also thinking about this because this is the big elephant in the room, and it depends what you're thinking as Matt Nagy. Like, is there a bit of job protection going on? Like, he's obviously on the hot seat, right? I mean, he's on the last straw. Like, the GM said that him and Pace, they're on the last straw. We're bringing them back for 1 more year. Let's see if we can make it right. And they draft the rookie quarterback. So you think if you're on your last legs, like, what do you have to show? Like, you have to make the playoffs. So you got to think it's playoffs or bust for the Bears. So if you're Matt Nagy, I mean – man, you're in a tough spot with this quarterback position, and I just think you got to go Justin Fields.
Are you trying to say that his hot seat makes the leash shorter on Dalton and the trigger on going to Fields quicker, or do you think that maybe if he realized that Fields was a better option, he would have just gone with him from the rip? I mean, we've seen teams – like, we've seen the Texans not even start Deshaun Watson as a rookie.
Yeah, Tom Savage started over him. And
Tom Savage is ass.
And I think that they're going to realize
booty juice.
He's like below Dalton. So
Justin Fields gives them the best chance to win. It's just I don't know how you save your job if you're Matt Nagy other than making the playoffs. Like, I don't think you can use the whole, hey, I started a rookie, give me a break here. Because I don't
the
think
ice is thin and he's stepping forward.
But if you start the rookie and you win 8 games, 7, I don't think you can win 8 this year. If you win 7 or 9 games, I think that buys you time because it's a rookie quarterback and you were right there. So I think it's in his best interest to get Fields in there quicker. I just don't know if he's noticed it, or maybe. I mean, if he just doesn't think that the Rams is a game, I agree with him, bro. This is one of the top 5 defenses in the NFL, and this is a welcome to the NFL rookie moment if you throw him in there. So I agree but week 2, I'm out because I'm telling you that spread's like 8 points right now or 7 points, the Rams and the Bears with Dalton as a starter. So the Rams go out there, beat them 23, 24-3, 24-0. I could definitely see him starting week 2 against Cincinnati and at home. Can you imagine how hyped the crowd would be? The home opener, very winnable game, and you got the rookie starting.
I like that. I think that's a good call out. If he definitely not going to start week 1, they already named Andy Dalton QB1. I could see him coming in.
Roland. It's his time right
now. It's his time. One of the better quotes.
Clown. Get out of here, bro. That's a horrible quote, bro.
One of the better
That's a quote where like, you're the only one in the room that believes it. Like, no, bro, your time was in Cincinnati, fam, and you couldn't win a fucking playoff game.
No, I agree there for sure. But we were just talking about where we projected them with the win totals. So, I mean, just to give my number out, I have them right around 7 wins. I got them right around at 7-10, and that's assuming Justin Fields comes in sooner rather than later. So, and even with that, I have them only at 7 wins. Missing the playoffs again, new coach. They're going to bring in Eric Bieniemy next year to be the coach for Justin Fields.
That's a good call. And I like that, Roland. If they do that, they would finally be on the right track, and it would work with their quarterback situation. I think 8 wins is their ceiling, and I agree with you. The faster that they put Fields in, I think the more time Nagy has to buy himself, but they definitely have to get rid of that. 8 wins is their ceiling, but I don't see them getting there.
And I'm glad you went second because I want Justin to end it here. You have a pretty high prediction for the Bears written down.
What, I had 7-10?
No, you had 8-9 with Dalton and 10-7 with Fields.
Yeah, I just think with Fields, that with that defense that they have right now, I think that can get them there. That's why I was asking earlier, does 3 teams make it? Could you see a situation where the Bears make the playoffs again like they did last year?
I mean, they did start 5-1, so they had a shot at it for sure. So,
bro,
but like I said, they're asterisk on this is all where Justin Fields gets a start. Late in the season, doesn't matter then for me. It has to be early.
Justin's had DJ Noe Bear in his ear. I could tell.
No,
but you are an Ohio State guy. You are an Ohio State guy, so you do like.
I'm on them tonight as well, just so y'all know. 12.5. I bought the point.
You'll know if Justin won or lost tomorrow, guys, when you hear this. But Roland, what I was gonna say, Fields coming in, you thought I think it might have been consensus where we all thought he was the second best quarterback in the draft.
I had him number 2.
Justin, I think you agreed, right? He was number 2 behind Lawrence, or did you have anybody else ahead of him? I think we all had Fields.
Lawrence
too.
Fields. It was a duo from getting out of high school.
I know
together since then.
I know it's preseason. We're not talking about it, but Zach Wilson's looked pretty good for the Jets.
He has looked decent, but I'm telling you, that coach, man, it's all about the culture, bro. And that coach, he's the type that can get people to run through a wall. They're still not going to be very good, but they're at least, Salah. But they're at least going to look competitive, for a half or so. The Bears, we'll see. It's going to be. I was going to say about my Texans story. We went to the Packers and Texans game last year in Houston because Mondo and Steph wanted to see the Packers. It might have been Aaron Rodgers' their last chance to see Rodgers, and he was so close. Fam, the Bears, like Roland alluded to, were 5-1 early on into the season. This was around that time. They were at the Houston Stadium heckling Packers fans, talking about, how does it feel looking up on us from the division? Because the Bears were winning that division for the first part of the season. Bro, they were heckling the shit out of Packers fans. But in true Chicago fashion, They shit the bed at the end of the season.
And just to move on to do we have any bets for the Bears before we move on?
I mean, if you want to parlay not to make the playoffs, I really don't see them making the playoffs.
Justin, Ohio State guy. Justin Fields to win Rookie of the Year, or is that too short at plus 400 for him not being the starter to start Week 1?
Just because he's not starting Week 1, I can't touch that. Just because I don't know if it's already Week 2 and he's going to make the starter or not. If it's beyond that, I don't see him surpassing Mac Jones at least to get that.
You might get better odds betting it after Week 1, and maybe like I said, maybe they do go to him because that Cincinnati game is the home opener and it's a winnable game, and you can get him there. It'll be upwards of plus 500 because he didn't start game 1, and then he's going to have and then he would have the rest of the year from then. But I agree with him not being the starter. You can't at those odds. Hell no.
So is this the team that you're fading in your survivor pool?
No.
Against the Rams Week 1?
No. It's not. Well, it's another team in this division.
Well, that was it for the Bears. I was going to say the Bears, but that was it for the Bears. Again, it's just I think the biggest thing to look out for them was is Justin Fields and when he's going to become the starter for them. But we're on a little bit of a roll here. Let's go ahead and hit the Minnesota Vikings. They were good enough for third place last year. 7-9 was their record. 3-5 at home, 4-4 on the road. They actually fared pretty well against the division. But I mean, they beat the Bears and the Lions. They went 4-2 against the division, and they were third place, missed the playoffs. They did have 9 games decided by a touchdown or less. They were 5-4 in those games, and the opposite of the Bears, the Vikings season was pretty much doomed from the start. They started the season 1-5, so really didn't give themselves much of a chance to get through to the playoffs last year. There's 2021 season props and bets, plus 2,800 to win the Super Bowl, plus 1,400 to win the NFC Championship, plus 220 to win the North. So that's good enough for second place. And their over-under is set at 9, juice to the over for minus 130. Their playoff odds are even at minus 115, yes and no. And their best odds for MVP, Kirk Cousins. Do you like that at plus 5,000? And Dalvin Cook, everybody's second favorite fantasy running back this year in terms of ADP, plus 9,000. 2021 additions for them, big name here. Patrick Peterson comes over from the Cardinals, starting cornerback now. Sheldon Richardson comes over from the Browns to beef up that D-line. Another corner, Bashaud Breeland, comes over from the Chiefs, and they beef up the defensive line again with David Tomlinson from the Giants. So the defense is looking a little stout. They just gave their starting safety, I'm blanking out on his name right now, if somebody can help me. There you go. Harris. A pretty big contract, good enough to be the second highest paid safety in the league. Yep. Their first round draft pick was a tackle from, Virginia Tech. Christian Darrisaw. And then they did draft Kellen Mond, if you're a Texas A&M fan. Quarterback from A&M was their third round draft pick. Key departures, they lose Kyle Rudolph, their longtime tight end, finds himself on the Giants. Their big storyline this year is, can Kirk Cousins bring them back to the playoffs? Will the Vikings find themselves back there? They're usually a pretty competitive team by all accounts. We were talking about the North and how it stands as a whole when we were talking about the Packers, and Ben, you were pretty low on even the Vikings. Are you off the Vikings again this year? You don't like what you see in Minnesota?
The one thing that did stick out to me was you talking about their record at home, 3-5, and Minnesota, the Vikings are usually a team that's pretty good at home, but last year there was no fans in the stands.
Yeah. So
fans in the stands does help the Minnesota Vikings. I just don't like what I'm hearing out of the quarterback room and, Cousins' stance on, taking the backs and not taking the backs. I don't want to get into specifics, but the league is making it harder for players that are not doing it, bro. And at the quarterback position, Their backup is Kellen Mond, fam. Like, they were trash all preseason because Kellen Mond was playing all the time. I think that they're a team that might be in the sweepstakes for Cam Newton, maybe as a backup. I think that they could use a backup, but I don't like what I'm hearing out of the quarterback room. You know, we got the running back, the best player on the team, Cook, guaranteed to miss 3 games a season because he's never played a whole season. I will give him some credit. They traded Stephon Diggs, and they got the house for him compared to what the Texans got for Hopkins. And then they went and hit a home run right away and draft Justin Jefferson to replace him. I mean, the trajectory on Justin Jefferson is top 5 receiver in a couple years, and he has the speed. He runs the routes. He's do it all. And then he's got old faithful Adam Thielen, who will steal some touchdowns because Kirk Cousins does love him some Adam Thielen, and Adam Thielen seems to make some very tough catches when nobody expects him to. So for the most part, I'm out on the Minnesota Vikings just based on like what I said. I see Kirk Cousins he said, I'm willing to do whatever, you know, to make – well, then if you're willing to do whatever,
yeah,
come on.
Do you think there's any friction there between him and the coach? I know the coach
probably the locker room as well.
I think that there might be a little bit, but Roland, they don't have anything to fall back on. So like I said, Kellen Mond, fam, we're talking about a rookie quarterback, and Kellen Mond's not even that good. Like out of San Antonio, Texas A&M, you want to like the guy, but let's be real. Let's be real. He's not an NFL quarterback. He's not.
Do you think Kirk Cousins is one of the greater finessers of our generation? I mean, he's Carr from the Raiders, except with a better fucking agent, is all I'll tell you. Like, I think that they're the exact same guy. They're not scared to air it out. They're going to go out slinging it. But you can't really count on him. Yeah, he gave you the you like that. But let's be real. He was playing in that bum-ass division where, you know, you could win it. He ain't going to NFC beasts.
Yeah, the NFC least, the more like it, Roland. But no, I'm out on the Vikings this year. Like I'm out, man. I'm out.
What about you, Just? You've been pretty quiet. What do you like about the Vikings, if anything?
No, I think they're the 3rd place team of the NFC North. A lot of the concerns that Ben voiced, I have as well. Just going to add on a little bit more to that, and that would be in the tight end room. You're losing Kyle Rudolph, and today or yesterday it might have been announced Irv Smith out for the season. I think that was going to be a big factor for them. He was very reliable at Alabama. I thought he was going to be something now for the Vikings. With him out, I'm out. I don't think this is going to be it for them this year.
Damn, just Irv Smith Jr. Irv Smith Jr. was the deciding factor, baby.
Well, just because, you know, Kirk Cousins hits the tight end in the goal line area, and now you're removing that option. Just saying that I said, because I said your concerns were my concerns, I'm just going to add on.
But so they have plenty of goal line options with Cook and Thielen and Jefferson.
Yeah.
But
I did preface that by saying your concerns were mine. Let me just add an extra.
For sure. And
just him.
I didn't mention on Irv Smith, and you're right, except that I myself personally didn't have very high expectations for Irv Smith, but it was a big blow to their offense because it was a starting tight end. I agree with you there.
Yeah, I have the Vikings pegged like right around their win total. Like I can see a route for them to get to the 9 wins, possibly 10. And the only reason why I'm saying that, because I have them finishing the year 2nd place. So I'm going to agree with Vegas at that plus 220 for them being the 2nd shortest odds to win the division. And that over under 9 is, I think, a good number for them. I think they're a solid team all around. I don't think there's anything that pops off the table. I mean, off the paper, other than like we noted, Justin Jefferson and Dalvin Cook. I think those guys, they give you a chance to win some ball games, especially if Kirk Cousins just doesn't turn the ball over and be reckless like he kind of was last year. I think you're going to be in a lot of these games. And if I give them, you know, what Ben noted at the beginning of his breakdown, that they're going to be stronger at home this year, I can see a route for them to get to 9 to 10 wins. So it's not strong enough for me to bet on the season win total, but I'm not that low on the Vikings. I have them at 9 or 10 wins.
Like Roland, that Seattle and Cleveland back to back they have road games to start off the year at Cincinnati, at Arizona. Both honestly winnable games.
Winnable games.
1-1 at worst. And then you have Seattle at home and Cleveland at home. Two teams that are usually people have high expectations for, but I see 1-1 there as well. Like, I don't see them losing both of those games. And those are two teams that were in the playoffs last year, and the Vikings weren't in the playoffs last year. I could see them winning one of those two games. But I expect them to have a hiccup with protocols sometime during their season, bro. I really do.
And I guess we do have to take that into consideration. That's a good point, especially when you're starting quarterback.
And you don't have a backup.
Yeah, because the difference is, if you are vaccinated, we're not going to get into it. If you are vaccinated and you have a contact with a player who tests positive or somebody who tests positive for COVID, if you test negative, you don't have to miss any time.
You're good.
You're good to go. But if you're unvaccinated, even if you test negative, you still have to miss.
Gotta wait for the symptoms to show up, Roland.
Yeah.
Because you're not vaxxed. They're trying to strong arm them, and it's not good when your quarterback is the guy taking the stance, and you don't have a backup, man. It's just not good.
Whether or not you agree with the whole, strong arming or whatever the NFL is doing, that's neither here nor there. The rules are the rules, and it just benefits you to, just get the backs. But
it does.
That's not what we're here to talk about. But
I do think
have to take it into consideration.
I do think it's going to affect them.
You do have to take it into consideration for sure. And moving on, this will wrap up the NFC North, and we'll get into a little bit of. We haven't talked about it for each team, but we will wrap it up at the end. A little NFC North fantasy outlook to see who's out there, because they do have some notable names here in the North. So back to the breakdown. It is the Detroit Lions. That's who we're finishing off with. Fourth place, 5-11, 1-7 at Ford Field, 4-4 on the road, 1-5 against the division. Missed the playoffs. They lost their first 5 games, and they lost their last 5 games. A little interesting stat: 8 games decided by a touchdown or less. They split in those games. They were 4-4. Have to go over these odds. I think we might bet one of them, but these other ones are pretty much just for comedy. Plus 15,000 to win the Super Bowl, plus 5,000 to win the NFC Championship, plus 2,000 to win the North. Their over/under is set at 5, and it's actually juiced to the under, minus 130. The last that I checked. To make the playoffs is plus 600, yes. Minus 1,000, no. A lot of juice on that. Jared Goff is their best MVP candidate, from what I was able to find, at plus 8,000. So if you believe in the former number 1 pick reviving his career in Detroit, throw a little funny money on him at plus 8,000.
You're telling me Penei Sewell can't win Rookie of the Year?
The offensive lineman? I don't think so. I mean, I don't know if they count pancakes. They should.
There's no pancakes that?
Yeah, there should be, though.
Hey, pancakes only count at IHOP, bro. All right, in the NFL, they don't give a damn about pancakes.
2021 additions, like we were just talking about earlier. Jared Goff comes over from the Rams. He's going to be their starting quarterback. Michael Brockers, who was also, I believe, part of that trade for Matt Stafford, comes over, also defensive lineman from the Rams. Wide receiver 1 this year for the Lions is none other than Tyro Williams. The wide receiver comes over from the Raiders. Ben just mentioned him. Their number 1 pick, or their round 1, number 7 overall pick, was Penei Sewell, the offensive tackle from Oregon. People had him slotted pretty high.
Not sexy, but they're getting it right. They're building from the ground up.
Building from the ground up. You got to win in the trenches first. Key departures, we just mentioned his name a little bit earlier, is Matt Stafford. Goes over to the Rams, part of that Goff trade. Kenny Golladay, he leaves. Former wide receiver 1 goes to the Giants. Marvin Jones, another receiver, goes over to the Jags. And probably the biggest departure is Matt Prater, kicker, goes over to the Cardinals. Mr. Reliable for them. Guys, I'm not going to go too much into it, other than I'm extremely low on the Lions.
Kenny Golladay and Marvin Jones.
Golladay and Jones both leave.
Hopkins.
You're looking at Tyro Williams as your wide receiver 1. Hawkinson is potentially being your best receiving threat. Khalif Raymond, wide receiver 2, and Amon-Ra St. Brown. I don't know if that's properly pronounced, but the rookie receiver from USC is number 3 on the depth chart. So not a lot to look at on the perimeter. DeAndre Swift is already a little hobbled with that preseason groin.
Yeah.
I'm all out on the Lions. I don't like betting unders, but I have them at 3 and 14. I'm on that under train. I have them picking towards the top of the draft again and getting another quarterback.
And the crazy thing is, I mean, this is the same Lions team that was looking to go winless a couple years ago, right? Did they win one game or they did go winless? They're used to being trash, man. I mean, like, you can count on the Detroit Lions being trash. Since Barry left them, they've been trash. Calvin Johnson left them. Why do you think all these players retire so damn young from the Detroit Lions? We'd rather get out the damn sport than play with these bums. I agree with you, Roland. Under. It's going to be a lot of booing in Detroit. And the fans, again, the malice at the Palace might be the malice at Ford Field if Jared Goff don't get his shit together. I'll tell you that.
Oh, man, their coach, though, highlight, I didn't mention him. Dan
bites
Campbell.
Kneecaps. He bites kneecaps.
Bites kneecaps. Justin, are you going to be biting any kneecaps with their head coach this year?
You know, I was looking at the Detroit Lions before we started the podcast, and I was thinking, how can I attack this? How can I have a proper take on this Detroit Lions team?
Any way you attack, you're winning, Justin.
And honestly, I don't have one other than under. That's the only thing you can do with this team. You take away Matt Stafford, Kenny Golladay, and Marvin Jones, and what you bring back is just Jared Goff. It's a lot of takeaway for what you're getting back. Yeah. It's not an even trade for me. It's not equal. This is not a good situation.
And Michael Brockers. They got Michael Brockers.
You said 3 wins. I could see them winless. Honestly, I just have nothing for the Lions. I think they could go winless at this point. If you have Hopkinson, you're in a good situation fantasy-wise because that's probably where they're going to go to majority of the time. I mean, there's really nothing to say about the Detroit Lions. You have no hope if you're a Detroit Lions fan. I'm sorry. This will not be your year. Maybe 4 years from now.
Go back over the face.
What's crazy is, like, last year they drafted the corner out of Utah. This year they draft the left tackle. Like, they don't even have shit to get it. Like, you can't even go buy a fucking jersey if you're a Detroit Lions fan. But, like, what jersey are you going to get? Ain't nobody going to score touchdowns. Like, Swift, and you're going to pull your groin on the way to the stadium. Shit.
If you get a jersey, you're gonna have to get it with that American Express or Visa, that jersey forgiveness situation. You're not gonna keep this jersey for long.
It's bad, man. In the NFL, you gotta score points, and they just don't have the names to score points. I mean, no Golladay, no Jones Jr. Like, come on, what do you got?
Jamal Williams.
And you know what? That was a good pickup. But Roland, this is the classic. Like, hey. Imagine this quarterback on that team, like a Matthew Stafford just going to waste with the Lions, and you say, yo, imagine if the Lions had this guy, and you just go and pick a quarterback that's on a shitty team, but people think highly of, and that's exactly what happened in this trade. Yeah, they got 2 first-round picks to go along with Goff and Brockers, or 1 first-round pick, but let's see who it works out for, because if it doesn't work out for the Rams, and I know we have a lot higher hopes for the Rams because we hold Stafford in a higher regard and they have the defense to fall back on. But this is a clear rebuild for the Detroit Lions. And they've shown it in the way that they've been drafting from the ground up. They're not going with the sexy picks, but they're going with, the building blocks of a football team.
Clear rebuild. And without further ado, I think this is our second bet for the podcast. We're going to take the under.
All the way under
5. We're taking the under. There's a little juice on it at minus 130 right now, but I would put a lot of money on that right now. I'm actually going to go run and do that on my phone here in a little bit.
House payment.
House payment, exactly. And you can put those bets in at BetKing Online using the WTBS promo code.
This is who I'm fading in Survivor Week 1.
Okay, there we go. We finally got to it.
The San Francisco 49ers against the Detroit Lions, and I'm going to take the Niners. They play in a tough division. We talked about that being the best division in the NFC. So they're going to have a tough 6 games against division foes where I'm not going to want to touch them in Survivor Pool. But here, they get a team that's going to have a top 5 pick in next year's draft and an obvious must-win game for the 49ers if you've got the Detroit Lions on the docket. Listen, when the Rams play the Lions, that's when I'm going to pick the Rams in Survivor. There's just going to be a couple of teams that I'm going to pick on throughout the year, and the Detroit Lions are the prime candidate. Them and the Texans. We went under 4 on the Texans. We're going under 5 on the Lions. These are 2 teams that will be picking in the top 5 next year. Write that down.
Looking for some new quarterbacks for sure. And Ben, I'm going to keep it with you. I know I said it before I got to the Lions. We were talking about a little fantasy. What players in the North are you looking to walk away with in your drafts?
Honestly, Devontae Adams. But if I'm picking at 10 in a 10-man draft, if I'm picking at the turn, I'm looking to possibly get a running back and the best wide receiver, who I think is Adams, just based on red zone looks, based on targets, everything. The chemistry's there. He is the guy. He's not the Tyreek Hill, just bomb or bust. You know, Devontae Adams runs the whole route tree. He's got the chemistry. He's got an MVP quarterback. Devontae Adams is the number 1 wide receiver in fantasy football this season, just like he was last year. So if he hasn't been taken by the time I'm at maybe 9 or 10, where I don't want to take Chubb, I don't want to take Eckler maybe, I'll take him on the way back if number 10 doesn't decide to take him. I'll take Adams. I think the decision is between Adams and Kelsey in the first round, first receiver or tight end. After Zeke goes, after that thing of running backs goes, you're picking between Devontae Adams or Travis Kelsey. Who do you want? You know what I mean? And so Devontae Adams is a must-have. And I think that it's perfect if you're at 10 and everybody passed up on him. Boom, you get your best receiver, and then you go and take whatever running back you want, or maybe you just pair him up with Tyreek Hill or Stephon Diggs. You know what I mean?
Yeah, so I like that wide receiver pairing.
Definitely who I'm trying to get. Number 1 priority in this division for me. Like I said, I'm not that big on Dalvin Cook. I don't know how you all feel about Dalvin Cook. Is Dalvin Cook, are you taking Kamara before Cook? Is Cook the second running back off the board for you all?
He's probably number 3 behind Cook. And even if he was staring at me, behind Kamara, excuse me. And if he was staring at me at 3 or 4, I might go elsewhere other than Cook, just because of that whole injury concern. I would probably go Zeke at that number. I'm thinking about it. I'm pretty high on Zeke this year. And I'm a Cowboys fan, so you really can't take too much.
Homer pick.
Got to take it with a grain of salt. But what about you, Jess? Are you taking Cook if he's there for you at the number 3 spot? Or
at 3, I'll take him. Yeah.
At 2, will you take him?
No, not at 2.
I saw somebody take him at number 1 in one of my drafts before McCaffrey.
Wow.
He is the more traditional running back, but like we said, never had a full season.
Most goal line touches by running back, but I don't think I'll take him that high, 1 or 2.
And what about Justin Jefferson? Would any of you guys target him on the back end of that second round? It looks where he's
Justin Jefferson or AJ Brown? Let's play this game.
Justin Jefferson.
Justin?
Yeah.
Tocayo?
100%.
Right. Justin Jefferson or Ridley?
Damn, that one's close for me. I'll probably go Ridley.
He's wide receiver 1.
Yeah, probably go
Ridley.
You
don't think Jefferson's a 1?
Well, just because Thielen's there.
Well, yeah, you were talking about Pitts like he was better than Thielen earlier, because I wasn't sure. You know what I mean?
I never said Pitts was better than Thielen. I never even made that reference.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. The potential. I'm sorry.
I never made that reference.
I know you didn't, but I'm saying you were speaking highly of Pitts. Pitts is there to take some looks away from Ridley, possibly.
Yeah, but they lose all the. Oh, yeah, go on. Next one.
Okay, Hopkins or Jefferson?
Shit, I'll go Hopkins. I'll go Hopkins still. I got 1 more year of Hopkins. I like Kyler Murray.
Hopkins. Okay, so I think that maybe Jefferson is right under that Hopkins, Diggs, Hill, Ridley.
But the trend is up on him.
Yeah, the trend is definitely up on Justin Jefferson. And if he can, listen, it's going to be hard to repeat the stats that he had his rookie season. We're talking about record-breaking rookie season in yards and, I believe, receptions, both. Like we said, he's a complete different dynamic of what Adam Thielen brings you. I have no interest in Adam Thielen. I think Adam Thielen is that possession receiver. And yes, like I said, he does get those goal line looks. But if you want that upside, if you want that,
you wouldn't even stream him. Put him in when you're out.
I wouldn't draft him to be.
Oh no, not draft.
Well, you're not going to get him in free agency. Adam Thielen is getting drafted in most drafts, but that's just a guy that he's not on my draft board. Period.
Okay.
I like what Justin Jefferson's brings because he can take a slant 60 yards. He has that explosiveness. So I am looking at Justin Jefferson out of this division.
I think the only other guy that I can think of that's notable and has a high ADP is David Montgomery. Are any of you guys looking to employ him as a running back one, maybe if you go wide receiver?
If you go wide receiver, I think that's a very viable number one. I mean, the matchup week one obviously isn't ideal, but you can get through that. That's a weekly matchup against the Rams, whatever. I think that Montgomery is a very viable, especially with Andy Dalton, a guy who's a check down artist, and they are going to be looking to run the ball before they pass the ball. So
I like that second point, but I actually like him more with Justin Fields. I think Justin Fields opens it up a lot more for David Montgomery than with Andy Dalton. The whole offense, exactly. And I like David Montgomery a lot more with Justin Fields. I'm high on Montgomery because I think he's a workhorse back. He's a do-it-all guy, a 3-down back type guy. But he definitely needs Justin Fields to come in because the only thing that scares me off of him is that the offense isn't going to be good, and you don't want a running back on a bad offense.
Exactly. He is going in the third round of drafts, so if you do go wide receiver, or possibly tight end wide receiver, maybe you take Kelsey and Diggs in the second round on the way back if you're at the back of the end of the draft, or Kelsey and Hill. You do have a chance of getting Montgomery in the third round as your running back one. Now, let's some Montgomery comparisons. Montgomery or Chris Carson?
Montgomery.
Justin?
Yeah, Montgomery. I actually drafted him as well.
Montgomery or Mixon?
Montgomery.
Mixon.
Okay.
I go Mixon.
And the last one that I'll give you is Montgomery or fuck. I thought I already had a name on the tip of my tongue, but I don't. Montgomery or Kareem Hunt?
Montgomery.
Same.
Okay.
Yeah, he's running back one.
All right.
But yeah, I think those are, the notable names in the NFC North. I don't think anybody's drafting Justin Fields.
Are you an Allen Robinson fan? Me, myself?
I like Robinson.
I'm not a fan at all.
But it goes back to the whole of being on a crappy offense. It's just the only thing is no one else is going to compete for targets. Sneaky little name before we go, because we're going to have to wrap up this podcast here shortly. Justin's, our producer, is going to have to leave us, is Mooney. I like Mooney as a sneaky little guy on the back end of your roster. He's going to be the wide receiver 2 for the Bears. He was the only receiver that showed, other than Allen Robinson last year, that showed that he was good. And Anthony Miller is no longer there. Anthony Miller show's over. Mooney's going to be pretty good at 2, but again, let's get Justin Fields in there.
Definitely Justin Fields. So then we'll wrap it up with, we're going under on the Detroit Lions, under 5 wins, juice minus 130, and we are taking the Green Bay Packers. We're all going to be cheeseheads this season to win the division like they usually do.
And to lose in the playoffs to the Cowboys.
Maybe Dez will catch it this time.
Dez is going to catch it this time. All right, well, that was it for We Talk About Sports, and look out for the Sunday show. The next time we talk to you guys, football will have already started. So.
Well, I think, do we have one division? I mean, we're not going to go with the Cowboys division?
Yeah, we are.
NFC East, we'll find some time to sneak them in there.
We will. All right.
Peace.
I'm supposed to be the franchise player, and we're in here talking about practice. I mean, listen, we talking about practice. Not a game. We talking about practice. Not a game.
Me. Bam. Me, man.
Not a game.
Slap that like she scored 30.
What are we even talking about, man? We talking about sports here.